Okay. So good morning, everybody. Beverley Poole here, and this is our Business Voices sessions that we're actually doing this morning. We're going to welcome Matt King along. So Matt is an incredibly personable person that I've been following on Instagram now for quite some time. Absolutely love his brand. Which is called Sales Change. And the thing is with Matt is that's not his real business. His real business is very much US and UK business development for a company called Safi, which is some valves to do with electronics. And Matt's going to tell us all about that in a second. But what people don't know about Matt maybe is the fact that he's got this amazing background in British and European standards for business. And also he spent a number of years in the British Army. And then when you left there, I think went into electricals and engineering. Water treatments. And so I'm going to pass you over to Matt anyway, because he knows a lot more about his background than I do. And of course, the idea of this Business Voices is my very own interest in people's psychology and human lifespan development, and where indeed Matt has actually come from, and what his teacher said, which will come along at the end. So, are you actually a reflection of what your childhood made you? So, I'm going to pass over to you, Matt. Here's the stick, and you can tell us all about. Hey, there you go. You can tell us all about you and what you're actually doing with this Sales Change podcast. An amazing situation that you've got there going on at the minute. Very exciting.
Thank you, Beverley. So I left school when I was 16 and went straight into the army as an apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I served 8.5 years in the Royal Signals as a telecommunications technician. So when I joined the army, I wanted to jump into telecoms because in the mid-90s, that's when 9X and the cable companies was like, this is the next big thing. So I wanted to join. I wanted to join the army and get a trade. After 8.5, 9 years, I'd served in the Falklands, Iraq, Kuwait, Canada. I did a bit of time in Germany, and I thought, do you know what, this is too much for me. I just got my my oldest son was born, and he's 14 now. So I didn't want to spend too much time away from the family. So I thought, right, I'm going to stop doing that. Gave my year's notice and left the army. And then sort of left the army and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had no direction, no understanding of what career path I wanted to take. So I sort of bummed around and did a bit of landscaping. I was a trained electrician when I left the army. So I was doing pond lights and decking lights and all that type of stuff. I was doing all those installations. And then Part P of the building regs came in. So you had to have all of your electrical installations signed off. So I decided, right, electrician's not for me. So I fell into a sales job. So I started doing selling for a company called Rent-A-Kill.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't doing the pest control side. I was doing their water treatment side. So it's like their specialist arm. So I started doing that. And then within 2 years, I was promoted to their senior consultant at their Croydon branch, and then got headhunted by the biggest water treatment company in the country at the time, which was Clearwater.
Yeah.
I worked there for about 6-7 years. But because of the size of Clearwater, I thought, there's not much room for progression here. The big wigs at the top had been there for quite a few years, and I thought, I need to jump ship. I need to find a smaller company where I could be a big fish. So I jumped ship, went and worked for a company called Goodwater, based in Reading. Joined them as a business development manager. Worked my way up to working on the board. So I was an effective sales director. That was within 3 years, and then this opportunity came up where I'm at now, which is Safi. And that's running the entire company. So I run the production arm, I run the US office, I run the UK office, pure manufacturing business. And it was an opportunity for me to step up into general management.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago. Two and a bit years ago. And then a year ago, I decided, look, what I do is go into companies and change their sales processes. I change the culture. I change how people grow their companies. I change the profit. So I thought, I don't want to work for somebody for the rest of my life. I want to work for myself. And the next stage of my career is Sales Change, which is what I started in October 2019.
Yeah.
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah. Good time to start.
Exactly. So that's taken off quite well, actually, because I started building the brand of Sales Change with a podcast that launched in January. Then I launched my Instagram in April. We're now over 7,000 followers on Instagram. So the community of Sales Change is growing. The website was launched, I think, maybe 2 months ago. So we're just starting to get traction with sales change. And I've got a few coaching clients across the globe. So yeah, the next stage in 2021 is big.
Yes. And I think the thing is that when people, it's like I mentor people and I sort of do these deep dives into their business over 2 days so they get a headache. And we look at like the whole process really of what they're actually doing, how they're presenting that. That's where I obviously was noticing you because your brand was very strong. But it's not about brand, which is what we were talking about before. It's how you're actually presenting that brand to the market, how sharp it is and what people will actually get from it. So when I sort of look at people's marketing or 4 key areas of their business or, how they're going to take that on their social media, the big one for everybody is always sales. How do I get sales? How do I actually do that? And, and that for you is what you've been doing for a number of years. So when telecoms and electricals and everything were all sort of getting big in the 90s, we've got picture tell and video conferencing, which is what we all do now every day anyway. You've sort of grown up through that, haven't you, really? And to get to where you are at the moment. And so I understand that background. So I think this whole sales change process that you've sort of linked into is the thing that people need, isn't it? It's how do I do sales, basically. So how are you going to progress that then? How are you going to take that out to the market next year?
So the first stage, well, I'm capturing low-hanging fruit at the moment. I'm doing coaching calls for an hour, 2 hours. I've got a couple of clients on 3-month retainers where they get a monthly coaching call with me and we work through some stuff. So that's the low-hanging fruit. That's the stuff that I'm capturing at the moment.
Yeah.
But moving forwards, it's going to be companies on retainers. So effectively, myself as a non-exec director sitting in a company for a longer period, working through their sales process, understanding how they want to communicate that to market, because you've seen the social media stuff I do. I'm very clear about what my branding is and how I want to communicate it.
Yeah, sure.
So it's about giving that to other companies as well.
Yeah, that's right. So and it's obviously working because it's something that you've been doing for a number of years. And and I don't think sometimes you have to be, like you were saying, your background's very much electricals. Well, I've got to tell you a quick story, actually. When I was lecturing in college, we did a swap teacher day. And we had to do which area of the college would you like to teach in today? So I said, I'll do electric. So I actually went and taught an electrical class of how to wire, is it, you're going to choke, how to wire a bathroom. Could you believe that? So I actually understand the zones that you get outside the bath and where you can actually put electrical sockets. That was quite an interesting thing, really. And I think, you collect all these skills as you go around, don't you? So
exactly.
The funny thing was, when I've actually renovated a couple of houses, people go first fix, second fix and all things like that. I actually get it because, actually looked at that as part of a course. So we take things from everything we do, don't we, really? And that make us the sort of the person that we are.
Yeah, for sure.
And, with you, that would be very much your involvement with helping change and sort of growing up through that.
I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, actually, Beverley, about how my particular leadership style and how I generate change. And because I've grown up, I can't remember what generation it is, but I'm very used to technology and I understand how technology can be used.
Yeah.
I'm also very in touch with how social media should be used and how you can generate interest through social media. But to use that and to use my army background in how I bring people together and how I create a team.
Yes.
That's my USP, is because I'm using my army background to bring a team together, but also use it in a way which is modern. So using technology and social media to generate interest. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's like you said about the tuxedo. It's more than that. So that's just the outer tuxedo. You've also got the cravat and the bow tie and all of the other stuff.
The layers, like Shrek.
Exactly.
That's the one, yeah. So, I mean, I think it's, just so that people understand that, it's when we were just talking earlier, we were just saying about when you've got your brand and what that looks like on media, it's not actually about what you're wearing or what your brand is or your colours or anything. It's actually how you're presenting it. And, like the corners of jacket suits and things like that. So it's really important to have those all nice and sharp and looking fabulous. So what's your take on all the new things that are coming along then? I know TikTok's very popular in my house at the moment. Have you sort of ventured into that land?
I am on TikTok, and my go-to format is probably video techniques. So transitions and a little bit of fun with how you can do camera swaps and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I am on TikTok. I'm also using Instagram Reels because Reels is now competing with TikTok.
Yeah.
There's quite a few Reels on my Instagram profile. It's just short form content, so it's getting shorter and shorter. YouTube is also a big part of my brand, and we'll launch bigger videos in 2021 because I'm creating a video studio, so we'll have whiteboard talks and we might even do some YouTube lives. So it's about just bringing the audience closer to me. And one of my core business beliefs is that there should be zero restrictions in getting closer to me. So you should be able to communicate directly with me. There should be complete transparency. I'm not trying to portray something that I'm not.
Yeah.
So if I don't know how to do something, I'll quite happily tell you I don't know how to do something.
Yeah.
In April, I didn't know how to use Instagram properly. And over the last 7 months, you've seen the journey. And I'm quite happy to talk about the journey and how you get from zero followers all the way up to 7,000 now. So those are the core business beliefs. But embracing new social media stuff, I'm all about it, all over it.
Yeah. Because I've seen you doing, sort of a little bit of those transitions and dance sort of things that I've actually seen, I think, on your short clips. And I actually quite like Reels, actually. I think it works quite well, doesn't it? And it's like you say, it is a sort of the new way of doing things. And also, of course, now on LinkedIn, we've got stories. And I think the thing is, when I've spoken to comms experts, and I'm just about to start a digital leadership thought leadership program as well in January about how you can go from being a business to getting yourself online, is you've got to have a strategy for all of those things, and you could spend hours and hours every day. I think when I first started my business, it was like 40 hours a week or something on social media, as well as the business and generating. But so what would your sort of be top tip for people be? Would it be to choose two and stick with it, or test the market in one area and then go across all the medias? How would you do that then, Matt?
So I am not a big fan of Facebook. I don't really get on with Facebook. I'm not a big fan of Twitter either, because I don't like text form. I'd rather just grab a camera and talk to the camera rather than trying to text out what I'm thinking. So, and that's part of my brand. I like to be personable, and exactly what you said at the start. I'm very energetic and lively. So I want people to be able to see that and understand who the person is behind the brand. Yeah. So
because it's like people saying they're coaches, isn't it? There's like a million coaches out there, and some people aren't qualified, some are, some bring their experience. And a lot of that sometimes is quite practical. And I think that the practical experience comes a lot across a lot easier, doesn't it? If somebody actually explains what they do. I think we were just talking just now about Academy, and technology, and where's that come from with me, and that comes from having worked in technology businesses since 1990, so you sort of gather your speed as you go along, don't you, and sort of bring all of your experience to market.
Exactly.
Your technology, your videoing brings your knowledge to the market in your own unique way.
Exactly. I could grab a book and write a million clips out of one book for Twitter, but nobody's going to understand the context. When I'm on Instagram and I'm showing up on my stories, or I create a video and I post it on my IGTV, people can relate directly to me, and it's me speaking those words. So there's some authenticity there. So I think it's about finding the platform which is right for you. So if you're quite happy and like copywriters and all those type of people, I'm sure they're quite comfortable on Twitter because they can knock out a few hundred words and away they go. But so initially my platform when I first started social media was Facebook, and then Facebook just became a bit of a swamp of trying to find your way around. So I'm not really a fan of Facebook, but just try and find a platform that you're comfortable on, and then find out what works for you, and then roll that out onto other platforms where you are as comfortable. So I'm quite comfortable on LinkedIn. I'm quite comfortable on Instagram.
Yeah.
I do use Twitter, but just Facebook is not the one for me. So just find a platform that you're comfortable with and roll with it.
Yeah.
Would be my advice.
Which I think is a really good idea to do as well, and I've built my profile on LinkedIn, and I'm also LinkedIn local host for Bournemouth and Poole. So, you know, that in itself has over 900 companies following it now. So it'd be great when we can get that back out there, but I will be taking that online as well in January next year. So, you know, you've got to find what's right for you and what works, and move that forward. So I know that it's, you know, you're a really busy chap, Matt, and I'm not going to take up much more of your time, but I'm quite just very interested in this whole subject of sales. And certainly when I talk to my clients that I'm mentoring, it's one that comes up quite often is, you know, how do I do sales? You know, and it's always, what would you say to people when they're starting off? I always like use the strategy and, you know, what is it and who is it that you're actually trying to reach? So is that the same for you?
Actually, no. I like to network a lot. Yeah. I like to get involved with, and this is working from a position where I might not want, like, if I wanted to network with you, there might be no like common business interests, but I might know somebody who does have a common business interest with you, and I can refer them your way. So it's working from a position of reciprocity. I think that's the way you say it.
Yeah,
but I want. Yeah. So I'm an eternal networker. I'll attend network events. You've seen me at Dorset Chamber. Yeah. We're doing this now. I've had lots of local guests on my podcast, and it's about finding out who does what within the business community.
Yeah.
And you start local first, and then you widen that community outwards.
Yeah.
But it's working from a position of abundance. There is 100 million opportunities out there. Don't just focus on the one that you're trying to get, because that sole focus will then start smelling of desperation, and you'll turn that client off. So work from a position of abundance, and that everything is an opportunity, and you'll find that sales come to you. Now that sounds very wishy-washy, but when you start networking, understanding, and building these relationships, you start building friends within the business community.
That's right.
And that's where business comes from, personal relationships.
It's a like no trust thing, isn't it, really? And
exactly.
You know, and developing that, and being a prolific networker myself, you know, I think my network has grown over the last 2 years to about 9,000 now on LinkedIn alone, you know. So, and people come to me now and say, you know, do you know somebody that can help with this? And through that, I've actually helped, you know, companies to actually expand and to grow. And of course, that's great, isn't it? Because they say nice things about you, and people want to know about what you do. So that's amazing. So I'm really interested, Matt, actually, in this whole psychology thing of where you started off from. So tell me, what did your teacher say? What did your teacher say? So you know what mine said: talks too much, doesn't concentrate, and is a bit disruptive, I think is the word. So what did your teacher say about you at school?
So I can remember one of my school reports which said that I was a disruptive influence.
Oh, there you go.
I have a very short attention span, and I do. I genuinely do. I have to be enthused with the idea of what I'm working on. So I have to be passionate about it. So I have a very short attention span. I talk too much, which I'm sure your school report said very similar.
Yeah, it says all the same things, yeah.
But and funnily enough, all of my academic subjects, my science, my maths, I got very poor grades in. But that doesn't mean that I'm not bright. I'm not to blow my own, like inflate my own ego, but I am very bright. The only subjects where I excelled at and I got high grades was English speaking, English writing, because I'm able to communicate the language and I understand how people want to communicate. So it's just about what you're passionate in. So
that's it.
And I don't believe that GCSEs should be the marker to how your career progresses, because look at my career. I'm now what I believe is at the top of a tree of a company.
Yeah.
And I got very poor GCSEs. So it's all down to hard work and who you know, not what you know.
Yeah, exactly. And likewise, Matt, I didn't go to university till I was 40. And that was for a purpose, really, was to really underpin everything that I'd ever done. And it just gave it structure, really. And, you know, which was psychology, developmental psychology, and how people develop. So it's, you know, it's a fascinating subject, really. And, you know, you've got arty kids and you've got science kids, you've got maths kids, you know, and I truly believe, like you went off and did your apprenticeship with the army, that there is opportunity out there for everybody, and it's just finding the right key to the door, isn't it, to unlock people's potential.
I think what the army gave me, Beverley, is it harnessed that creativity and that attention span and gave it some discipline. Now I've got the discipline to go with the creativity and the hard work ethic. It all comes into this one package, so it does build over time. you're not the finished article when you leave school. You have to,
of course you're not, no. Yeah, I think next year is going to be quite different anyway. I think if your children are getting up to this age, they're going to go through this whole lost generation. And this is certainly something that I'm really interested in, is we've got all these young people with all this knowledge of social media and, and interacting with, in this way. And all these companies out there are going, how do we do it? But because they're young and they've got this whole headset going on, that they don't actually ask those young people, how do I actually do that thing? There is so much opportunity for young people, certainly coming up in technology. And I think next year I heard that there's going to be some changes in GCSE and A levels because of the not being able to attend lessons as much.
Yeah, I think there will be, yeah.
Yeah, that might actually be very assessment again for next year. But yeah, anyway, that's another subject, education, which I'm quite passionate about as well for people. So it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I'm an absolute avid fan on Insta and laugh my head off every time I see you do something funny. So that's obviously working. And so look forward to seeing you taking that onto the other medias next year. So what's the focus for you then now, Matt? Let's just finish up with what your key focus is and one particular takeaway for everybody.
Do you mean my key focus for business next year?
Yeah.
My key focus is to focus more on video and video content creation. We've dabbled with it this year, and I mean for Sales Change and for Safi, but that's what we're really going to double down on in 2021 is the connection through video. And my key takeaway is just pick up the camera and talk to it, because that's the only way that you're going to get comfortable doing video.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Now LinkedIn are doing stories. That's the business platform that you can build the biggest business relationships on.
Yeah.
Pick up the camera, talk to it, show people what you do, and you'll get more business.
Yeah. Don't you think also, where they've got you can actually say your voice now on there, is people pick up also from your voice what they can be like, and nobody knows you until you talk to them. And this is this whole networking thing, of course, which we're all very short of at the moment, is getting out, talking to people face to face. So I'm sure when you walk in a room, Matt, that you have that instant presence because of your personality and your the way that you present yourself to the market. So we're all looking forward to getting out there, but at the moment we're all online, so let's do video. I absolutely agree. Thank you very much, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Just stay on the line with me for a minute, because I think I might have a couple of people that you can connect with. So I'm just going to say thank you very much for coming to chat to me today. We'll get this recording out for people so they can have a look as well, and look forward to chatting to you again quite soon.